Most importantly, this was a courtesy visit. It was a visit to express our utmost support and solidarity with the government. That is born out of the fact that we have desired, we have ached, we have prayed for this day to come. And we're happy that the day is finally here. We know the difficulties this move has created for the populace. We know what the reactions have been. And one thing we have vowed is that we're going to help the government to disseminate the right information on what this is all about. It's not simply about making transportation more expensive. It's not simply about making fuel so expensive and it's suddenly out of the reach of the ordinary person, so to say. It's about repositioning this country. I think Nigeria has suffered for too long. It's about putting your money in the right place. We spent maybe 4 trillion last year. He said 4 trillion this year. No, for the first 3-4 months already, we were at about 2.7 trillion in subsidy. By the end of this year, we would have been at about 6.7 trillion. How much of that really goes to the populace? We have been feeding the whole West Africa, Sub-Saharan Africa with fuel. Since last week, Monday, and it's difficult to believe that it's only 10 days that this happened. If you check, all those neighboring countries have all their prices shot up. Probably maybe Niger is the cheapest one with about 580 per liter because they were all feeding on Nigerian fuel. But that's not to say that because others are benefiting, they're benefiting wrongly. Nigeria cannot be subsidizing the whole of Africa when we have a lot of our own problems. So we came today to express our support and to see how we can cooperate with government, because ultimately, you can't kill the people you are trying to save. So we're not going to sit back and say, hey, yes, you have removed subsidies, so it's fine. There are aches, there are pains. What can we all do? There are suggestions we have made today on how we can really move this forward. And one thing that came out is that over time, we have all depended on PMS because it was cheap. We didn't develop our gas. There's electricity. So we have alternate sources of energy. It doesn't have to be PMS. Now suddenly, we now realize that, look, we have gas in abundance. There was no fresh investment. Nobody's going to invest in an economy that is not free. You are going to have restrictions. Since maybe July last year, I don't think NNPC has paid anything to the Federation account. As a matter of fact, they were actually going to start billing the Federation because they were spending more on subsidy than they were earning. So these are the problems, and that's why we said it was important for the government to understand that we do support and we are very willing and able to help Nigeria transit this situation. The president did listen to us very graciously, and it was interesting because we all suddenly remember that he's an accountant first and foremost. He asked and he interjected with very, very intelligent questions. And he understood what we meant by saying we want a complete free market. Free market, we want to have one exchange rate so people can stop trading in dollars. If we have free exchange rates, then we can compete in importation, compete in licensing and having refineries running. These are the things we need to get right. We have gone through so many years of no fresh investments. All you ever see are new depots being built. And why is that? Because that's all it takes. If you do that, then you become a marketer and you can begin to sell fuel. But no. And we also try to explain that whereas you were buying 20,000 metric ton parcel for 4 billion naira, today you have to pay 12 billion naira. So it's also important to recognize the fact that the pain is not only for the populace. For the marketers, we're going to see mergers. We're going to see some, unfortunately, will have to drop off because that's a lot of money. How many banks can really fund you? But that's also not to say that we're going to have scarcity. No. Finally, we're going to have our real volumes. We're going to stop. We have stopped feeding most of Africa. Already, the volumes have dropped. And it's not only because you're saying we can't afford transportation. It's only the man who has a Jeep that will spend 70,000 naira now to fuel his car. The man who doesn't have a car doesn't have to worry about that. All he needs is transportation. And to that extent, we recognize the fact that we have to have an effective mass transit system. So the people who don't want to be bothered to drive cars have alternative, and they're not going to be stuck at home because they can move. So most of what we talked about is how do we go from here? How can we actually make it work? How can we go back to almost the point where we are before? It's possible. And I say that with all sense of responsibility. And one good thing we also have recognized is the fact that a lot of jobs are going to be created. New businesses are going to come up. There's an adage until sometimes you shut a door, a window doesn't open. And you find out that maybe that window that opens, because of the timing, there's a lot of opportunity that comes through that. So for us, it was a very, very good meeting. And we had an input. We also were able to discuss about helping the economic team, participating in what they're doing. Because we are the people on the field. We are the ones doing this distribution. What can we do differently? And one thing that the president also stated clearly is that we must minimize frictions in the system. We must have a free market that works. Whether it's licensing, if you say you're licensing, how long does it take to license? It has to be done promptly. So in a nutshell, I think that covers essentially what this meeting was all about. And then hopefully the nitty-gritty I don't have to go into at this press conference. But we believe by July, which is only a month away, we're going to begin to really see what is being put in place to help, to assist, and to make sure that people can go back to seamless living. Thank you very much. That we already are going to, we're going to participate in the palliative measures that the government is putting together. And to that extent, His Excellency just reminded me that, you know, we did pledge that the whole industry, and I had the MD of NNPC Limited on my left, you know, and we all collectively agreed that we're going to work at providing real mass transit buses that work. The ones that will run on CNG, which is the compressed natural gas and diesel, interchangeably. And hopefully we're going to start with about 50 to 100. And that is in the very, very short term. And these are locally produced. So you see that we're also providing jobs, a lot more jobs, because we're using local assembly plants. We're not importing this. That's less pressure on our foreign exchange. And that's more jobs for our Nigerians. And we think, and the president was very happy with that. And we really, really do thank the president because he had a perfect understanding of a lot of the issues. I guess we were not surprised, but we were almost amazed, to use that word. He asked all the right questions and he pointed to who could solve this problem and that problem. So, like I said, we're really, really grateful that we've had this interaction and we'll take it from there. And hopefully, everybody here and Nigerians at large will begin to see that even if this sounded very difficult, it's a very, very good move and very courageous. We've been trying to do this for so many years. No president has had the courage to do this. But now we all have to face it, and like we said, support is what is required now to see this through. Thank you.